Hey guys, this is Blayne and JJ. We're down in Tampa, and welcome to tonight's live Google Hangout. We're going to give it just a couple of minutes to give people some time to join. We're using the miracles of modern technology to broadcast to you guys tonight, so it may be a little glitchy at times, but we hope it works pretty smoothly. We've tested it out, and so I hope it will be easy to talk this evening.
Cool, guys. We really appreciate you taking some time, especially I know it's pretty late on the East Coast, so we really appreciate it. And we're just going to hang out here for a second and give people a chance to punch into this thing.
If you guys have questions that you haven't had a chance to submit yet, we're going to take some questions. We're going to try to spend about 2/3 of our time together taking some questions. So you can use the chat bar within the Google Hangout, and you can start submitting those whenever you want, whenever they come to mind, or if you've got some already thought up. And then when it's time for question and answer, we'll just sort of scroll through those. We'll pick a few and we'll answer those questions then. But we've saved a lot of time for questions, and we've got a couple that have been submitted prior, but not a ton. So feel free to ask those. We want to make sure that we take the opportunity to do that. What do you say? You want to get started?
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, here we go. We've got people just clicking in right now. So we'll give it just another minute maybe. Thanks for your patience. We'll give it just another minute. I can see people at the bottom of the screen clicking in here pretty regularly. So we'll let some folks join us.
All right, there we go. It appears to be working now.
All right, yep, we got the viewers clicking in. We can see the number moving on the screen here.
Apologize if there's any technical glitches, guys.
It would probably be helpful if someone would just type in a question on the sidebar if they can see us. So if you can see us on the screen and hear us okay, maybe someone just type in on the sidebar that we're good to go, and we can go from there.
All right, guys, apologize about this. We have a couple questions coming in. Just want to make sure that we've got everyone is able to hear us. All right, appears like this is working, so we're going to go ahead and get started.
Success.
Miracles of modern technology.
All right, so we'll go ahead and get started. As people join, they can just kind of pick up wherever we're at. If you guys have questions, like I said, you can feel free to submit those on the side, and we'll get to the answers here in just a little bit. First off, as JJ said, thanks for joining. Thanks for taking a little bit of time here this evening. It's really our pleasure to spend a little bit of time with you guys and talk some about what's going on at Team Red, White, and Blue, what's new, and spend at least half the time tonight answering your questions. So just to sort of get started, I just want to start off by saying that things are really starting to pick up. We've been growing really quickly for a long time, but those of you that have been around for a couple of years understand that it's kind of a seasonal thing. We usually do a lot of activity in the spring, and then we stay somewhat busy, but it slows down a little in the summer. Kids are out of school and people are going on vacations, and generally everyone's life gets a little bit out of sync. And then when people go back to work and kids go back to school in August, September, things tend to pick up a bit. And then we stay really, really busy and see lots of activity all the way through the fall and kind of to the holiday season. And so this past week on Friday, on 9/11, we kicked off the Old Glory Relay out in San Francisco. And we did a ton of 9/11 moving tributes in cities all across the country. And I don't know about you, but my Facebook feed was basically just, it turned red with just RWB people and various chapters and folks taking pictures, doing stuff all over the country. Just super impressive and really proud personally to see the way that our chapters and our members are choosing to honor our country and those that fell on 9/11. So it's a great start to sort of what we call the fighting season around here. It's going to get really busy over the next several months. We have, camps and events and Veterans Day and all kinds of stuff going on. So we're excited to see it all starting. And I think this fall will probably be, it will obviously be our most busy yet. So check that stuff out. If you've been kind of on the fringes and you've been moderately involved, take the opportunity to get involved. There's a lot of good stuff going on over the next few months. The other thing that we wanted to get to right off the bat tonight is we just wanted to talk a little bit about just some high level stuff, just us directly giving it to you guys, our mission, sort of our vision for things and how we operate as an organization, and just kind of setting that as a backdrop for whatever future discussions we have. So it may sound a little simplistic, and I don't mean to start sort of too simple for some folks, but I think it's really important to take some time to go through it. So just to kind of get started and taking a step back, our mission is to enrich the lives of America's veterans by connecting them to their community through physical and social activity. And I'm really proud to say that I think if I asked any Team Red, White, and Blue member on the street, they'd probably be able to say that, which is awesome. What's a little tricky about our mission statement is that it's not quite as clear cut. Like we don't say like we get veterans jobs or we put homeless veterans in homes. Those are great missions, and sometimes I wish that our mission was that simple to explain, but it's not. What we're doing is building community for veterans. We're connecting them, we're enriching their lives. And enrich is a word that, maybe not everyone understands the meaning of. So what we've done is we've actually taken some time to define at least our definition of enrichment so that we can understand what it means, we can communicate it to people, and we can start measuring whether or not, we're any good at it, whether or not we're actually making people's lives richer. And so just to review it a little bit, we very simply define enrichment or a rich life as one consisting of health, people, and purpose. And you may have heard some people talk about that. To break it down a little bit further, health is really just that. When we talk about health, we mean physical health, mental health, emotional health. Your health is essentially the base of the pyramid upon which your life is really built. If you've got your health, that's a great start. And if you don't have your health, a lot of other things don't matter. So we want to help veterans, we want to help communities have greater health, physical, mental, and emotional. And physical and social activity is a great way to do that. You're getting people moving, you're getting them more fit, and the physical activity is a great way to kind of develop those connections, which sort of leads me into the next thing, which is people. People, defined a little bit more, with a little bit more detail, basically means establishing meaningful connections with people around you. It means having friends, supportive relationships, knowing people in your community that you can call upon if you need them, that you can depend upon. That's really, really huge. And, for most of us, when we took the uniform off, we moved to places where maybe we didn't know a lot of people, and having that support network, having people we could count on and talk to and be around and could understand us was super important. We all know how critical that is to having a rich life. So people is the second component. And the last one is purpose. And this one can be a little hard to define for people that maybe haven't had this in their life to this point. But for those of us that have served in the military, most of us have a pretty healthy dose of meaning in our lives, of purpose. You put on a uniform, you represent your country, you're part of something bigger than yourself. You go to work every day as part of a team, you have the camaraderie, and you know why you're getting up every morning and going to work. And when we take the uniform off and we become civilians, that can be a little tough. I mean, just speaking for myself personally, I was in good health and I had good friends and good family, but I had a huge gaping hole of purpose in my life, and that affected me pretty significantly. So being part of the team, being part of something bigger than self, that shared accountability, working toward common goals, that's been really, really huge for me. I think it's been huge for a lot of our veterans. And so purpose is kind of the third thing. We say health, people, and purpose. And if we can help give veterans and members of our community those three things, then we think we can greatly increase their chances of having a rich life. So I hope that makes sense. you guys spread the word in your communities. That's really what it's all about.
Yeah, I was going to say, this is really important stuff, guys, because, we can have all the members in the world, we can have all the chapters in the world and all that kind of stuff, but none of that stuff really matters at all if we're not actually making people's lives better. And we're really focused on making people's lives better. And, sometimes you have to take a step back and do the really hard work and say, like, this is, saying, are we actually enriching lives? That's a really difficult question to ask, but that doesn't mean that we shouldn't try to ask it. We shouldn't try to answer it. So you might look at us sometimes and say, wow, you guys are constantly doing new things and trying new things. It's because we're looking back at the data and we're looking back at what we did and we're trying to get better.
Yeah, thanks, JJ. I think that's huge. I mean, we've always been an organization that's been focused on actually trying to provide a good solution. So it doesn't really matter how many dollars we raise or how many chapters we have or any of that stuff. I mean, some of that stuff does matter, but only so much as it's affecting the end outcome. And that we're an outcomes-based organization. So you guys have probably seen the member surveys and things that go out because we're trying to figure out if what we're doing is working. And if it is, great. And if it's not, let's tweak it a little bit and make sure we can do the best job possible. So that's why we focus that way. So that kind of leads me to the next thing, which is the surveys that I just mentioned. We've been looking at those now for a couple of years, and the results have been they've been encouraging. It seems like what we're doing is resonating with people, and it seems to be working. But one thing has really jumped off the page at us 2 years in a row to the point where we can't, you certainly can't ignore it. And that is the fact that greater levels of engagement are driving greater levels of enrichment. Like the two of them are just like a perfect fit on the trend line. For some of you data nerds out there, it's really almost that simple. If we can drive greater engagement, we can increase enrichment. And so folks that report being more active in the organization or have been part of the organization for longer, basically if they are more active and they're more engaged with Team RWB, they're more engaged in their community, and they're showing better outcomes across almost every dimension, whether it's frequency of exercise, overall physical health, how connected they feel to their community, how confident they are at work. I mean, almost any metric that we're measuring, pick it. If they're more engaged, their life seems to be richer. And so certainly easier said than done, right? So I know a lot of you guys out there that are chapter captains or leaders in chapters are probably, always asking yourself the question, how do we get more members to come out? How do we increase participation? How do we increase engagement? And it's not an easy thing. Especially for those of you that are in the newer chapters, you understand that, you really have to earn it. You have to stay with it. You've got to be out there and doing everything you can to engage with folks actively and get them to come out and be part of Team RWB. We appreciate the work you guys are doing that. I know when I started the chapter here in Tampa, it was me and like 3 of my buddies, and we just ran every Wednesday night and hoped to get as much attention as possible. And we carried the flag at 5Ks, and eventually, we kind of built it up. But engagement is really the key. So it's something we have to stay on. And in order for us to do that, if we really want to be an organization that's all about driving engagement and getting people involved at the local level, which is hard work. There's a lot of organizations that are trying to do it now, which is a good thing, but most of them aren't very successful, and that's because it's such hard work. The reason I think we do it better than anybody else is because of our leadership. We have, from the very beginning, Mike Irwin was like recruiting all of his friends and had all these awesome people come on board. And we've had great volunteer leaders from day one, and we just continue to get good leaders on board. And that's kind of the thing. So if we think enrichment is what we're going after, and we think engagement really drives enrichment, the thing that drives engagement is leadership. And so that's why we're developing a leadership development program. That's why we're really ramping up kind of volunteer training and all of those things. You probably haven't seen a lot of it on the kind of user end at this point, but it's all going on big time in the works, and it's going to be coming out over the next few months. Because making investments in our people, making investments in our leaders and our volunteers especially, is the primary way that we can make sure we're doing a good job, that we can drive engagement at the local level. And if we're driving that engagement and we're getting more people involved consistently, we will continue to drive enrichment. And that is absolutely what we're trying to do. Did you want to talk about UVIs really quick and kind of how that works?
Yeah, one of the things that, we said earlier, we're really focused on making sure we're actually making people's lives better. So we would love to be able to look at, are we enriching lives on a daily or weekly or monthly basis? But we currently can't do that. We do this member survey once a year, and we get kind of a dump of data once a year, and we're able to look back at the previous year and see what we did. And so, we can't really do this kind of, week over week. That being said, we've got this really great piece of data that shows us that the more people are engaged in the organization, there's a very, very positive, very high correlation between being engaged in the organization and being active in the organization and having a better life and having a more rich life. So what we can do is really focus on just engaging people in the organization. And that's what we're going to do. We have 2 years of survey data in a row that tells us very plainly, we just need to make sure that people are being engaged in the organization. There's a bunch of different ways we can do this. We can look at the number of members we have and number of events that we hold and number of chapters, and that stuff is all good. But what we think is the single best way to look at this is a metric that we've used for a few years, and we use it internally a lot, not so much externally, but you're probably going to hear it more, called a UVI. And a UVI is a unique veteran interaction. So that's every time that a veteran interacts with our organization. So if one veteran comes to 4 events, that's 4 UVIs in a month. Or if he or she comes to 1, that's 1. Or if 4 different veterans come to 1 event, that's 4. And that's our best way that we can use to as a proxy to say, we know that if we have more UVIs, then that's going to then lead to higher levels of engagement. So this is something that we have in the past looked at, and we're going to really start looking at and trying to drive this more in the future.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, right? I mean, we want people to show up. So signing up is cool. Like getting new signups is really, it's an important thing to measure, but we want to know how often people are showing up, because that's an engagement. That's how we know people are building real connections and really participating. So the UVI is key, because that tells us some measurement of, great, our membership's growing, but are our interactions growing at least on pace with that? We want our interactions to outpace our just kind of pure growth numbers, if that makes sense. So we want people to show up, and we could get a lot better at it. I think we're about as good at it as anybody, and we'll keep driving that.
Yeah, that's a goal we've set for ourselves internally, is that we want the number of interactions to go up at a rate or a slope that's kind of greater than new members joining the organization. So as people are coming into the organization, we're continually engaging with people on a higher and higher level.
Yeah, absolutely. So we don't want to take up too much time just kind of talking at you guys. So we've had some questions come in here on the side. Keep sending them if you guys have them. We're only probably 15 or 20 minutes in here.
Yeah.
So if you'll excuse us, the print's kind of small. We'll just kind of get close to the screen here, and we'll read some questions, and then we'll kind of go from there. All right. Someone floated a softball here. It looks like Vanessa Corey. So Vanessa says, what's the largest accomplishment of RWB over the last year? Man.
What do we view as the single largest accomplishment? I mean, I would say this is a bit of for myself personally, this is a bit of a cop-out answer, but the fact that we're a volunteer-led organization is something that I think is a huge accomplishment. If you look about how the size of our organization and what we do on a daily or weekly basis, and the fact that it's done primarily by awesome volunteer leaders out there, I think that's our biggest accomplishment. So that's not a single thing, but that's the thing that I would point to.
Yeah, I think that, for me, it's just sort of I get a chance, and JJ does too, to go around to, some of these conferences and summits and things like that in DC and Dallas or wherever. And every single person that we interact with comes up to us and says, I saw your folks out at whatever in my city at a 10K doing Tough Mudder or something like that. And I was blown away by how professional your volunteers were. I was blown away by how much you guys just kind of have your act together. And so, the fact that, people are doing it so consistently well across the board it blows my mind. I mean, we're not perfect, and, we screw things up, regularly, but our volunteers really just sort of are owning it out there and making it go at such a high level with such consistency. It's something I never even thought was probably possible 3 or 4 years ago, but it's happening.
Yeah. The other thing I would say is I think we're starting to change the narrative a little bit. So let me elaborate on that. So there's a bit of a kind of a veterans or victims mentality, in our country, and I think that you guys probably see this sometimes. And this whole narrative of come help these poor veterans that can't help themselves. That's not something that resonates with our organization. We don't feel like veterans are victims. We feel like veterans are assets to the country, and they just need. Some people have some challenges they got to work through, and we're going to be there to help them work through that. But that changing that narrative about veterans being assets and leaders in the country, I think I think we're starting to see a difference in that, and I feel like we're part of that change because we really have been driving on that.
Yeah, and I think I'm really proud of that because we haven't been doing that through like social and traditional media and like speaking engagements and stuff. But frankly, we should be better at. We're going to work over the next year on kind of being a more of a vocal leader in the space. Not like like on Capitol Hill necessarily, but out there, just kind of in the space, letting people know what we've learned and what's working, because people need to hear about it. But the fact that it's kind of happening because we're demonstrating it through our actions. We're not kind of at the microphone saying veterans are assets, you should really trust them and hire them or whatever. Like we don't have to say that because you guys are saying it for us every single day in your communities. And like, at the risk of sounding cheesy, like that's actually how it works, is we demonstrate our values through our actions, not through our words. And we've got literally an army of people out there, 85,000 strong, demonstrating what veterans are all about and what community is all about on a daily basis. So it really, makes that kind of like our marketing jobs pretty easy in that regard. Let's see here.
So I think we had Tim Hudak, plans for additional fire bases.
Oh,
was that one next?
Yeah. Okay.
I apologize. Like the questions kind of jump around a little bit when they come in via Google Q&A.
That's a timely question.
Yeah, very timely question. So just so everybody knows what he's talking about, we have one facility right now. It's in Tampa, Florida. It's what we're sitting in right now. It's kind of our only facility, and we call it a fire base. And you could call it's an office, but it's not really an office. It's really a place that we run programs out of. It's a gym, classroom, kitchen, and it's a hub in the community for veterans and members of the community. So that's what our fire base is. And there's a tremendous amount of activity that goes on here.
Yeah, so it was actually a bit of an experiment, right? We just wanted to have an office somewhere because at some point we needed to have like a printer and a fax machine for Team RWB, and it didn't really feel right to have an office, so we just like built a gym and a kitchen and just kind of gave it back to the community, and it's been pretty awesome here in Tampa. So given the success of that, and so a lot of folks have kind of come through here and have seen it and have been interested in helping us have more of these, and so we're very lucky. The Home Depot Foundation has committed to helping us build out 5 or 6 more of these things. And when I say build out, I mean like doing renovations and kind of getting a space up to speed so that we could have something like this. We're not really going to pull the trigger on any until we get sponsors or funders that are willing to cover about a year's worth of operating costs, which is like rent, utilities, things like that. Because we don't want to just kind of open up shop and commit ourselves to a lease or anything like that unless we feel like it's financially responsible for us to cover it. We've gotten some good news here very recently, like in the last 3 days, from another funder that wants to cover that portion. I won't say the name right now because we're still kind of working on it with them, but it looks very promising. And so we hope to do about 5 or 6 more in the next 2 to 2.5 years. Probably looking at maybe getting a couple more underway in the next 6 months, 3 to 6 months probably. And then adding a couple more every 6 to 9 months for the next couple of years. So we hope maybe by the end of 2017 to have like 6 or 7 of these guys in various cities around the country. And we're still kind of working on what cities those will be. We have some idea, but it will depend a little bit. They'll essentially be like regional hubs though. So like, where the regional directors are at or places where they can kind of be a regional hub. So you think like kind of Southeast, Mid-Atlantic, maybe Northeast, South Central, West Coast, that kind of thing. So I hope that answers that question. It's not like a huge priority, like our major strategy, but we do think it's worked really well, and we'd like to have kind of a regional hub in about 6 places. What do we got next, JJ?
Yeah, so there's a couple questions on here regarding kind of the store and gear. I think maybe what we'll do is kind of lump those and do those in a second and jump through some of these program ones first. Okay, so Chris wants to know, has there been any thought into streamlining, improving the member sign-up database of members? Yes, very timely question and a tremendous amount of thought.
I'll let you take this one. You're working on the ops stuff pretty heavy.
Yeah, I mean, so essentially having the back-end data infrastructure to be able to support what we want to do as an organization, we have some pretty lofty goals, is something that's really important to us. And our organization is very fluid, and so making sure that we have all these data systems in place that can do what we need them to do and grow with us is something that's really important. So this is something we're working on virtually every day, and it's going to have to be some kind of a custom solution for us. So the kind of the customer facing piece, Chris, like you're talking about in terms of like the new member sign up process, giving chapter captains access to their membership data in a better way, allowing them to update membership data, being able to like directly pull from member lists to send out emails, all that kind of like day-to-day tactical stuff that we need to be able to do with our data. That stuff's really important. But then, on the back end, we need to be able to track our members longitudinally and see when they came in the organization and different things that they've done and when they've taken surveys. And we want to be able to look and see, are we really, as they're reporting to us, making people's lives better? And so, that's something that's really important to us. We're working on it right now, but it's a big solution. We were going to use Unite Us as our CRM tool, and we still love Unite Us. We think it's a great platform, but as we got into it, it just wasn't going to be the right fit for us to do this particular thing. So we're still going to have some interaction with them. They're doing a lot of great stuff, but we're probably going to have some sort of, we are going to have some sort of a custom built data solution, and we're working on it right now.
Yep. So I've got a question here from Greg Mills about our thoughts on ideas for increasing UVI for chapters that have, larger numbers of members with so many events they can
spend their time doing other things, I think is kind of the question.
I'm not sure I understand the question.
Yeah, so I think just in general, if you're asking some questions around how to get more people engaged in your local chapter, I think is probably what you're asking. And I wish I could say that there was some kind of a magic bullet, but there's not. So there's two ways I answer this question. One, I think that we're not doing a great job in terms of on our end with the data solutions to get people the information they need to know what's going on. So we don't have a good solution where someone can look on a map and say, I can see, wow, there's a run group that goes on a mile from my house every Wednesday, right? Like that doesn't exist. So the way that we communicate and get information to our members is something that's really important, because there's no one way that we can communicate with our members. Social media and Facebook is a way, email marketing is a way, text messaging is a way. But I would tell you that the most effective way is good old fashioned person-to-person communication, where we're reaching out to people and saying, hey, we're going rock climbing on Sunday. We'd really like it if you came. We'd love to see you there. Someone can come pick you up if we need, if that's a issue. So I think that's part of it. And we're working hard to have a better tech solution that we can get that information to our members. At the local level, though, to answer your question, there's two things I would say, and then I'll let Blayne go. And, we both have been chapter captains, so we're giving you, I think, a little bit of what we've done at the local level as well. I think what I said before, just that good old-fashioned interaction and one-on-one personal connection is the best thing that you can do. And then once you get people together and they start to establish bonds and become friends, then it kind of snowballs. And so you could do some things at the local level where maybe you split up and you say, like, every one of the local leaders is going to take 5 people this week, and they're going to reach out personally to those 5 people and say, hey, we'd love to have you. We're doing this on Sunday. We'd really love to see you there. And just that little personal connection, I think, is just invaluable. And that's the thing that is most important, because you can post on Facebook all day, unless you pay Facebook to advertise your post, people probably aren't going to see them anyways. But B, it's just not a super effective way it's not very personal. So I think personal is always better. The second thing is, are you adding value? If you're hosting a run in a town that has 20 other established run groups that are already happening on every Wednesday night, then that's probably not something that's adding value. But if you're able to facilitate free functional fitness or workouts or CrossFit workouts or yoga workouts, that's a really great way to add value to someone's life, because someone would have to pay to get that otherwise. And, it's a great way that we can bring people together. We can connect people to their community and add a little bit of value to their life.
Yeah. So this is a good question, because this is like the time old question at RWB. How do we increase engagement? How do we get more people to come out? So everything JJ said is excellent. I'll add a couple just tactics that we use here in Tampa that maybe will be helpful. So one is, as he said about Facebook, they change the rules all the time, and you can't invite the whole chapter to events now in the group or whatever. It's a huge pain in the ass. So use it, but it's a tool and it's not a crutch, if that makes sense. So here's some things you can do. If you have MyEmma, which most of the chapters and communities that are established have a MyEmma account, which is the email marketing tool, don't be afraid to use that thing. We certainly don't want to spam people, but what I found in kind of some informal polling is that most of the chapters are sending out a monthly newsletter, which is fine, but that's probably not engaging enough to keep people coming to events. So the DC chapter does a really good job with this, and there are several others out there. send that bad boy weekly. Get someone in your chapter who's willing to compile like a formatted My Emma message and send it out every single week to all the members of your chapter saying, hey guys, this is what's going on this week. That's at least enough of a reminder. And one email a week is not too much email. People get a lot of email. They can always opt out if they don't want your email, but don't be afraid to reach out to people more frequently. Use Emma, use email marketing, or just use email in general. Let people know on a weekly basis at least what's going on. Similarly, if you have a special event that you want people to come to, like a 9/11 moving tribute, for example, or WOD with Warriors, send a special message just around that. Like send out a mailing that just says, here's all the info on this event we're doing. It's super important. We really would love to have you there. Here's how you sign up. Here's the point of contacts, information, etc. Use the tools that are available to you with that, because if you email it to them, they're going to get it. They may not open it or pay attention to it, but at least they got it. If you put it on social media, maybe not. Again, it's a great tool, but it's not a crutch. So here's another thing that we've discovered down here is that having things that are monthly seems to work out really well. So the local consistent kind of weekly activities are definitely important. But as JJ said, sometimes you can really add value or offer something that appears valuable to people and they want it, they're excited about doing on kind of a monthly basis. You can also spread the workload out for those much more easily. So for example, we started a few months ago doing a monthly luncheon here in Tampa. It's once a month. If you miss it this month, you got to wait till next month to do it. And so people tend to show up. We've had 22 or 23 people the last 2 months show up to our lunch because, it's not that common. We beat them up a little bit and remind people on social media, hey, remember to come to the luncheon. It's just something a little bit new. It's something a little different. It gets people out. And I volunteered to lead it because I can handle once a month. If I only have to come up with it once a month, I'm pretty good at it. So we have another guy in the chapter that does stand-up paddleboarding and kayaking. There's a guy that gives it to us for free once a month. And again, he can handle setting it up and doing the outreach and really drumming up some support for it once a month. It's not too big of a burden for that particular volunteer. And people love that stuff because, they don't get a chance to do it all the time, certainly not for free. And so, don't be afraid to remind people about special events and hit them up once a week. And think about doing certain things that are really valuable or cool, like on a monthly basis, and then assign that to a volunteer who can really run that thing to ground and own it. Because that doesn't overburden them. And then if you have 6 or 8 of those things going on, next thing you know, you've got 2 or 3 cool things going on every single week, in addition to your weekly run group or yoga class, and you're killing it. So those are some tactics maybe to use.
Yeah. So another thing, this is interesting. Some of you might have heard of a company called the McKinsey Company. It's a big consulting company. They've done some really awesome work for us over the last couple of years to help us kind of develop our business plan and then get a little bit better at what we do. And one of the things that we had them do for us recently is to take a look at, so some of you are probably familiar with this, but all of our chapter captains submit a monthly report every month that tells us basically kind of what they're doing, the number of events they had, the number of people who showed up to their events, and et cetera, et cetera. What we had the McKinsey Company do is to take a look at that data and say, and then also take a look at our monthly survey data that shows levels of enrichment and say, and what we wanted to find was, is there any particular mix of events, or are there any predictors of success for chapters that are doing different things that are leading to higher levels of enrichment? And it's not because we want to be able to say this chapter is better than the other. What we want to be able to do is say hey, here's a mix of things that works really well. Let's share this with everybody else. And they came back and didn't really have anything definitive. But one of the things they did say is that mixing social events into the mix was something that did drive attendance, especially with veterans. So, pardon me. I think that having a variety, a calendar with some variety, and mixing in social events and also some community service events, those are great. They did see statistically that social events were effective as well, having those mixed in.
Yeah, they also came back and kind of said that the increasing number of events was only good kind of to a point. There was sort of a sweet spot where, certainly having 1 event a month is probably not optimal. 2 events, 3 events, still probably not optimal. But at some point it got to where, I forget what the number was, but it was, 12 or 15 events a month was kind of the sweet spot where people were really able to focus on those events and get people to come out and make them special. And if you had too many events, it was just kind of too much white noise and it didn't work as well. So you guys are have to play with that in your community, but think about it regularly, and how many is too many, how many is enough, and just kind of keep an eye on it and see what's working.
Yeah.
But a couple other really good questions here. There's one from Dana Bender. Sorry, I'm just putting you guys on blast. I hope that's okay. asking about how do we think about one-on-one interaction or small group interaction as opposed to just like taking a new member and asking them to come out to an event. I love this question because this is what we call eagle engagement. One-on-one or small group interaction, we call it eagle engagement, and every chapter has a line item in their budget to do eagle engagement. So there is money in every chapter's budget that they can spend each month on, if you've got veterans who, for whatever reason, maybe they're struggling with post-traumatic stress still, or they just kind of have some anxiety, or maybe they're just, a little out of shape, and they think Team RWB is a bunch of like Ironman triathletes. There's a lot of reasons why people might be a little hesitant to come out into the big group, which is totally normal. So if you connect with those folks, take them, meet them in a small group, be responsible, but meet them in a small group, 1 or 2 or 3 at a time, and go for a walk or go for a run. Totally cool to meet them for coffee. You can even have lunch. Similarly, if you bump into a veteran at an event who, you have a sidebar conversation with, and you think they could use someone to talk to or an ear, follow up, again, get it with a small group or individually and do that kind of thing. I would strongly encourage it. Again, work with your chapter captain and your chapter leadership team to make sure that you know who these people are and you're kind of covering down and you're following up with them. But please, by all means, take the time if you have it to spend some time with these folks, because usually it doesn't take a ton. In my experience, if I proactively reach out to people, which is another thing, I used to always feel like I was pestering people if I followed up with them. Like maybe I was trying to bother them or pester them to come out to the weekly event or whatever. So I didn't want to bug anybody. So I was a little hesitant to reach out proactively. But as it turns out, and Mike's helped me a little with this, the psychology behind it actually says that doesn't make people feel bothered. They don't feel annoyed. They actually feel welcome. They feel needed. They feel loved, appreciated. So probably a little bit more than you think you're comfortable with. Reach out to these folks and say, hey Brian, or hey Dave, I haven't seen you in a couple of weeks at the functional fitness workout. Love to see you. Can you come out this week or whatever? How you doing? And usually that person shows up the next week because it means a lot to them that someone reached out. So Dana, great question, and get all over that. And let us know if you have any questions. If you're a chapter leader, you can go on the RWB intranet, and there's a whole section on eagle engagement, which may help explain that a little further.
Yeah, and again, to kind of keep going back to the research, which is something we try to be a very research and data and analytical organization. One of the things that showed up very plainly in all the survey results was these one-on-one and personal connections that people developed were really powerful and really meaningful to them. And we know that this small group and one-on-one interaction is really, the data and the numbers back it up. And then kind of anecdotally, we also know that that's one of the things that's really important to our organization. And so, yeah, I think there's nothing, there's very few things that are more important than doing that.
All right, so we got a couple more here. There was one about,
we have neither Blayne or I are IT experts here.
We're doing all right. So there was one about how can volunteer leaders get more sort of leadership training, I think, or leadership development. And this could be a long answer. I'll try to keep it short. So we're launching our leadership development program, and some components of that are in place. This is really a big deal. We're kind of looking at what we do and trying to simplify it a little bit, not change it, but just sort of the way we understand it and talk about it, just kind of simplify it a little. And at the end of the day, what we're good at, kind of our core competencies that make us a valuable nonprofit, is we do engagement and leadership. That's kind of our thing. We're leading in our communities. Our leaders are the ones driving all the local activities and all the growth and all the enrichment. And so we're going to make a lot of investment over the next several years in leadership. And so our camps program, which many of you are probably familiar with, our veteran athletic camps or athletic and leadership camps, are actually going to kind of move into the leadership development program. And Andrew Hutchinson, who's been our director of camps, is going to sort of get a promotion to become our director of leadership experiences, which will be the camps plus kind of leadership summits and seminars. And some of you have probably been to those as well. So we're doing a ton. We're developing modules. So the modules that we deliver for leadership development curriculum, we do in person. JJ and I and Chris Waddell typically do those at the camps. We're putting all of those using an online software and kind of delivery mechanism. So we're working on developing 12 or 13 different modules of leader development curriculum that we've written in-house. And you're going to be able to access that through our website and take these leadership development courses. They're going to be interactive pretty soon. Chris Waddell is working his butt off on getting that happen. We've got 1 or 2 that are live right now that we're testing. So in the near future, you're actually going to be able to go on our website, and if you're a member of Team RWB, have access to these 12 or 13 leadership development modules, and we'll continue to make that better as time goes on. The other thing that we're doing is we're going to hire here in the next, hopefully relatively soon, in the next couple of months, maybe 1 month if we can make it happen. We're going to hire a director of leadership training and management. So we're going to have a person that's going to work with Joe Quinn, who's our new director of leader development, who's going to work with him very closely on developing all of our kind of training and leadership protocols for our volunteer leaders and just our leaders in general, to make sure that when a new volunteer leader comes on board, they're getting all of the necessary onboarding training and then some continuing training that we're keeping up with, whether that's stuff that we're taking care of and kind of writing and developing, or whether that's stuff from some of our partners like Given Hour. There might be some suicide awareness and prevention training and other things. So this is a major area of growth for us over the next year. It's a huge, huge priority for us. And we're going to be bringing some people onto the team and developing some stuff to make sure that all of our members, but definitely our volunteer leaders, have access to quite a lot of training. It's a big deal, and we're not as far down the road as we hoped we'd be, frankly, at this point. But we are getting after it here over the next few months, and I think by the end of the year, you're going to see some significant movement on that.
Yeah, and Michelle, a very simple answers. There's a landing page for the leadership development program on our teamrdb.org, and there's a lot of good information on there, and we're going to continue to populate that as we go. So that might be kind of a simplistic answer, but that's a place that you can go to get more information as well.
Yeah. All right, so we got another really good question here about, it says, as we receive very generous donations to the organization, what are we going to do if we kind of grow? I guess.
How do you see the organization using these funds? More camps, regional leaders, other employees.
Right. Okay. So if our revenue or if our fundraising dollars grow, which Brandon Young, our director of development, is absolutely killing it out there. He's got, not only, just to take a step back a little bit, not only do we have like races that we're partnered with that are very generous, and small businesses and individuals who are going on our website and donating, and we have people who are running races and fundraising. There's lots of ways that we kind of generate funds, but we get a lot of them through grants and through philanthropy and sort of corporate responsibility and a lot of that stuff. And Brandon handles a lot of that. I do some of it. JJ does some of it. We kind of spread it around. But one of the things I'm most proud of is that our partners on the kind of our big partners, whether they're foundations like Bob Woodruff Foundation or companies like Nike or Microsoft, or philanthropists like Bernie Marcus and some of the other just people that are supporting us, they're really all in. And I'm not kidding you. They're coming out and participating in events. I was just at the beginning of Old Glory Relay, and the veterans team from Microsoft was just they're amazing. What they're doing to help us just make our organization better and to come out and be a part of it is ridiculous. So I'm super proud of really all the ways that we're doing this, because everyone who basically is submitting $1 to Team Red, White, and Blue in any shape or form is part of the team. And that's something I don't think you see very often in our space. So to get the question though, how are we going to spend it if our fundraising and our revenue grows? We could get into a pretty detailed discussion here. We thought a lot about this lately. So most of it is going to grow capacity at the regional and local level. That's basically what it comes down to. You're going to see a few folks getting hired over the next year. As I said, we're going to hire a couple people that are kind of in the leadership and training area, which is basically our way of directing some resources toward training our volunteers and our leaders. So trying to invest more in our people, which would mean more camps, more leadership summits, more seminars, more curriculum available, the stuff we talked about, getting it online, all of those things we're investing very, very heavily in right now. We've had some pretty big commitments come through lately, specifically earmarked to the leadership development program. So we're going to be growing that a ton. We're going to grow a little bit of capacity at the regional level. So all you guys have regional directors right now, but essentially that's one employee managing 35 chapters and tens of thousands of people. So we're going to hire regional program managers at each region. So we'll have 2 staff members at each region to kind of help get closer to the ground, to be even more attentive and have more touches with our volunteer leaders and help out with getting the chapters going, doing regional camps, doing regional leadership seminars, things like that.
Yeah, Chris, I would say to really sum it up, we're not going to do anything differently as an organization. We're going to no new programs. We're not going to change what we do. No changes in mission, anything like that. We're going to keep doing what we do as an organization because we know what we do works. The data shows it to us. We're just going to do more of it. We're going to do it better, and we're going to do it in more places. I mean, to be very simple about it. So deeper and wider. We're not going to do anything new. We're just going to keep doing what we do, and we're going to be more, a little bit more, I don't want to say focused is the right word, but we're just going to be able to apply more resources and try to do it better.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
All right. Apologize. These questions like jump around a little bit. So, all right. How much did the Charity Miles app help the organization? So let me answer this in two ways. The way that you're probably asking is in regards to dollars, and that's an important thing. But the way how I think Charity Miles really helped the organization more than we thought it was going to was with engaging our members.
Can you tell the story about your aunt?
Yeah, I will tell the story about my aunt in a sec. So we're never going to be in every city in America. To take a step back a little bit. We have chapters now, and we're over 150 locations. We actually are up to 180 locations, including the places we're organizing right now. But we're never going to be in every city in America. So every veteran in America is not going to live close to one of our chapters. That's our goal is not to be in every city. We want to be in the right cities. But we still want to have ways that we can engage with our members and veterans in places that are, for people who are not geographically co-located with our chapters. And Charity Miles was awesome for that in terms of giving people ways that they can engage with the organization and getting people active in that way. And it was way more successful than I ever thought it was going to be. I have an aunt who, was a school bus driver and wasn't as active as I think maybe she wanted to be. And Charity Miles was something that caused her to get really active. And even because that was a way for her to support the organization and get back to the organization. And unbeknownst to me, she really got active and has really put on a lot of miles on, and has really gotten healthy over the last year or so. And it was really Charity Miles was the thing that got them going for that. So to answer the second part of your question of the dollars, we can't give you a good answer for that yet. The way that Charity Miles works, it's a year-over-year thing. And it goes from like June to July, and then you get the results sometime in the fall. So we should get the results for the last year, from like July 2014 to June 2016. I think and I hope it's going to be really good for us, but I don't exactly know, what that's going to look like.
Yeah, it's significant though.
Yeah,
like it's not a small amount of money. It's significant. Like I think it's going to be the amount of money that would roughly, I don't know, I'm trying to think here, would probably fund 10 chapters, maybe 12, over the course of a year. So what people are doing out there with the Charity Miles is making a difference. Pennies make dollars. That's absolutely the case. And I really like what JJ said. It's just a great way for people to it just motivated people to get up and get going. And that's been really huge.
Yeah. And, from a very practical perspective, the app was a little quirky and kind of hard to work with, last year, but they made some big improvements, and it's much better and doesn't kill the battery on your phone like it used to. So it's a much better, easier thing to use.
Here's a quick one. Someone asked if there's been any update. Matthew, thank you for the question. Asked if there's been any update on our partnership with Blayne Brown. We can answer that one quickly. If you guys haven't had a chance to look at her stuff, by the way, if you haven't read her books or just watched her TED Talk, Blayne Brown, look it up tonight and look at her Power of Vulnerability TED Talk. It's like 18 or 20 minutes. I've had the chance to meet her. She did a leadership development workshop for us last November down in Houston. We had about 30 or 35 Eagles that went down there. She's one of the most sought after speakers in the world right now. So the fact that she donated her time to us and spent a whole day and then came out for the 5K on Veterans Day the next morning, just unbelievable human being, as real as they come, and has been a huge inspiration for me and lots of other people. So she did that. But she's basically made at least kind of a 3-year commitment as kind of a passion project to Team RWB. She believes in what we're doing. And she's recently, 4 of our leaders, Chris Waddell, Georgina Beal, Sarah Roberts, and Joe Quinn, went and spent like 3 or 4 days at her Daring Way leadership training and certification seminar. And so they're actually trained now in sort of Brené's kind of trademarked leadership development and kind of coaching style. And they are actually going to have the opportunity now over the next several months to do kind of a train the trainer. So they're going to be able to actually train an additional 30 Team RWB leaders. So we're going to have like 25 or 30 or 35 Team RWB leaders who are actually trained in this full up Blayne Brown kind of thing, which it's a little hard to explain, but it is like life-changing, like full contact sport, bare your soul and figure things out kind of experience. It's amazing. And she's going to be with us over the next few years. She promotes our mission. It's amazing what she's done for us, but in a very tangible way, she's contributing. I think she's going to develop some curriculum, like a couple of 1-hour talks that she does, and give those to us so that we can put them on our portal and our folks can watch them. I can't say enough good things. I'll go on forever talking about Blayne Brown.
So some of you probably know Joe Quinn. He's going to be our new leadership development director. He was our Northeast regional director. He just wrote a really powerful piece. He lost his brother in September 11th in the attacks, and he just wrote a really powerful piece, and it's published on Task and Purpose. You can go. It's on our Facebook page if you want to see it and look at it. But it's a really powerful piece, and it's kind of based. I think his interactions with Blayne were what kind of gave him the inspiration to write this, and she was actually touched by it herself and has done some promoting about it. So she's a huge supporter of our organization.
Yeah. So another quick question here looks like from Michael Ship. It talks about if there's going to be more information on the leadership programs. Yes, there is. We kind of touched on it. We're not quite as far down the road as we hope to be there, but hiring Joe Quinn to be the leadership development program director was probably the best thing we ever could have done, and he is hard at work. That guy's fired up to get this stuff going. Again, Andrew Hutchinson is kind of moving in to that program. We're going to bring someone else on board for training and management. It's just stay tuned. Keep in touch with your chapter captain. Keep in touch with your regional director if that's who you're in touch with. More stuff, and just kind of keep your eye on social media and Team RWB in general, because we're going to be ramping that up. Yeah. So here's a question right along the same lines. I'm super, excited that you guys are asking so many questions around leader development. That just kind of confirms for me, like, that's what really we're excited about. So this question is kind of about what other things besides the modules that we're writing do we anticipate offering, especially around things maybe to better understand veterans who might be experiencing physical, mental, or emotional challenges. So we touched on it a little bit. Blayne is going to help us out, and it's going to offer some stuff. We're also working with some partners, particularly with Give an Hour. We're really working hard to get kind of a more formal partnership with them, where we're actually working on a grant. I guess I probably shouldn't. Okay, I won't say who it's through. We're working on a grant with them though, so that they can hire a full-time person who is like just the Team RWB liaison at Give an Hour, and like a full-time person who just works with our staff and our volunteers to help deliver really important. There's assist training. There's all kinds of suicide awareness prevention training, so that our volunteer leaders can get this really important training, so they can be aware and educated on these things, which are important. But I think honestly, what a lot of this training does is it just gives you a little bit more confidence as a volunteer leader. So that like, I can interact with this veteran, especially if they're a little rough around the edges, then I can interact with them. I can lean into that, even if it's a little uncomfortable. Yeah. And I kind of know what I'm looking for, and I know what I can, should or shouldn't say, and that kind of thing.
Yeah, and Joe, one of the things in your notes, you kind of specifically ask for educational opportunities for civilians to better understand veterans. So I think there's something really important here. We're a veteran service organization, and that that's what we're going to be. But we're an organization that's we're about a third of our membership, and it's growing a little bit, are non-veterans, and we think that's awesome. We think that's a really important part of our organization. And so when we offer things up, we look at people as leaders in our organization, not veterans or civilians. And so anything that we do inside the organization, like, that's not a distinction that that's not a qualifier for anything that we do as an organization. So yeah, and I think there's going to be opportunity for us to develop some relationships with some institutes of higher learning outside of our organization. And there's some universities that have really good leadership programs, and I think we're going to be able to work with those. It just requires someone to work this for us, and I think Joe's going to be able to do that.
All right, so the last two questions remaining here that we haven't gotten to, and this is a good time, and we're about 8 minutes, I think, until the hour. So we have two questions that kind of about storefront and gear stuff. There's one about asking if there's been some price increases on the storefront. We can address that separately.
And then one's about what new items that are coming to the storefront.
Okay.
So let's take the first one soon. So with the new storefront, I hope you guys like it. We spent a lot of time working on it. It's a way better system.
Eric Engelhart has been punishing himself, eyes bleeding, making that happen. So I have to give him a shout out, because he's worked his butt off on making that reality. It is not fun.
Yeah.
If you guys ever want to get into like online athletic apparel business, we have some tips, but I don't know that I would recommend it. But
yeah, for sure. So the short answer is the prices on our apparel have not changed at all. We just ported them over from one system. They haven't changed at all. Now, the shipping, the way it's calculated with the new store is being done a little bit differently currently, and the shipping rates have gone up, and that's not something that we've done consciously. It's auto calculated by the storefront. But we've been doing some audits and looking back at what the actual shipping costs were, and I think we're going to make some changes here like in the next couple of days. And I think we're probably going to go to just a flat rate shipping per order. That's going to really take the shipping price down a little bit, because we know that's an issue, and that's something that we want to be as fair as possible. We just want to have it be even and have the organization not lose money on shipping and not overcharge customers or anything like that. So
yeah.
So the prices on gear haven't changed at all. They're the exact same that they've been, but there has been some changes in shipping, and we see it and we're addressing it and we're going to fix it.
Yeah, I mean, a couple of specific ones. I think like the navy blue T-shirts, the sand color T-shirts, they're like $20, which is pretty good. I think the classic red running shirt with the Nike swoosh on it is $25, which is, right about what it's always been.
Yeah. I mean, you couldn't go to Dick's Sporting Goods and buy a red Nike shirt for $25. So they're $40 there. So I mean, we try to keep our prices as low as we can.
I mean, I think most of the things that we're shipping out most of them are at least right around $5 below retail, and that's embellished. So that means with the logo and everything on it, which is about the best we can do. So I hope you guys feel like you're getting good products at a fair price. That's been our goal kind of the whole time. It's obviously not our main line of effort, but we know people love it, and we appreciate the fact how much people love it. I don't want to miss the opportunity to say that we thoroughly appreciate how much you guys love, wearing the eagle and sharing the story and buying the gear. I mean, it's a huge deal for us, and we totally appreciate it. I only say this because we've had like one volunteer working on it for a long time. We've got one person working on it kind of quarter time as their job now. And we're doing our very best, but we're just never going to be like Amazon.com. We're just not a retail giant. We're never going to have the systems and the volume and the fluidity to keep things going quite that hot, but we try really hard. I promise. And so we hope you guys are enjoying it. The shipping thing was a little bit of a surprise to us, frankly, and we're on it.
And Chris, you asked a question about some new stuff into the store. So there's kind of two ways we're going to answer that. One, there's a bunch of really great new stuff in the store right now that has just shown up in the last maybe 2 months. There's an awesome new Nike men's hoodie and ladies hoodie. There's a really great, it's probably my favorite shirt that I have, period. It's a Nike half zip, like an Element half zip running shirt. There's some really good stuff in there right now. We're going to have the new youth shirts are going to be Nike youth shirts. So there's some pretty cool stuff that's been in there that we haven't had before just in the last 60 days. But there is going to be some other new stuff that we're going to be cycling. Our goal is to kind of cycle something new once a quarter through the store and see what people like. We get a ton of really great suggestions from people for things that we could, they would like to see us sell in the store. And, we can't do all of it just because we have to be cognizant of how much inventory we have and how much exposure we want to take in terms of gear. But kind of rotating things through on a quarterly basis is something that we're going to be doing soon. And we're actually going to have, I'll let Blayne tell you what it is. Our kind of our first item that we're going to be rotating through is going to be, it's going to start next month here.
All right. So we've got two kind of initiatives that we're going to do this fall.
Around gear.
Yeah. So one is we're going to do, for those of you that have been around a while, you remember this, we're going to do a throwback, old school, an OG vintage 5-year anniversary limited edition Team Red, White, and Blue white shirt. So you guys have seen the old original Team Red, White, and Blue shirts maybe that a few of us have from the old days that are white. They've got the eagle and red and blue on it. They look pretty sharp. Most of them, I think, say teamrb.com on the back.
There's a little mistake, teamrb.com.
Yeah, so those are for posterity only at this point. But we're going to do a limited edition run of a white Team RWB shirt. It's going to have a 5 on the sleeve to commemorate our 5-year anniversary, which kind of comes up this October, next month. And so we're going to sell those probably from about October 2nd-ish until about Thanksgiving. So you guys will have a chance to get a white shirt for a limited time. I'm looking forward to it. I'm going to get a couple because I like the white shirt, just sort of a throwback. The other thing we're going to do is a little bit more complicated, but it's pretty straightforward. Yeah. We're going to do an Eagle buyback program on the old school red shirts. So if you don't remember what I'm talking about, I wish I had a picture here to show you. We'll post some stuff about it here coming up. but the old red shirts that had the logo was reversed. The big part of the eagle over here was blue, dark blue, and this little part over here was white, and the RWB was blue, and the team was white. That's the old school red shirt that we used to send out for the ambassador program. There's still some amount in circulation. I see them in pictures. So here's the deal. If you have one of those old school short sleeve red shirts that has the reverse logo on it, if you've got one from that old ambassador program, whether you bought it or got it shipped to you for the ambassador program, whatever, only the short sleeve red shirt with the reverse logo, if you've got one, you can mail it to the Firebase, 1110 West Platte Street, Tampa, Florida, 33606. We'll send out all the details. Send us your shirt with your address and your shirt size on a note, and we will send you a brand new Nike short sleeve Team RWB shirt. You send in your old one with the reverse logo on it, we'll send you a brand new one free of charge. You got to pay to ship it to us. Ship us the shirt with your note, size, and address. We'll send you a brand new one for free. Eagle Shirt Buyback Program.
Yep.
That feels like a pretty good deal.
Yep. You can ship a shirt via first class mail for like $1.20. We do it every day. So, all right. So we're getting closer here. Jill Orr just gave us a little bit of positive feedback on the new store. Thank you. I appreciate it. We'll pass that on to Eric. It's all him.
So we've got one kind of big one here from Chris Bridner, and we're down to a few minutes.
Yeah.
We can take it though, I think.
He wants to know their consideration of partnering with other VSOs that might have a higher name recognition, partnering with other VSOs that are bigger than us. So we should start by saying this a couple ways. There's lots of VSOs that are out there right now, and we already partner with several VSOs, a couple that are bigger than us. And you can go, look on our website on teamrebuy.org to see who we work with right now. There's some big ones out there. There's some legacy VSO organizations. I don't know specifically who you're referring to, but everybody knows the American Legion, the VFW, and some of those big, the USO, some of these big veteran service organizations that have been around for a while. Then there's some newer ones that are bigger than us as well. The Wounded Warrior Project is one, but there's some others. IAVA, they're much bigger than us as well. Maybe not so much anymore.
Yeah. So here's the deal. We'll, we look into it for sure. Yeah. One of the things that we try hard to do is be a good partner in the space. And the other thing too is to say name recognition and bigger. I don't think a ton about that so much, because I think what we can do is, it's not our goal to ever raise the most money in the space. I think Wounded Warrior Project raised like 450 mil last year, which is amazing. We were maybe 1/100th of that. I think we ended up making like $4.5 million last year. So like 1% of that size of income. But I think that we have the ability as an organization to really be leaders and to influence the behavior of other organizations, including the Wounded Warrior Project and others. The American Legion, the VFW, we've seen them. We've had full page spreads in their magazines, and their leadership have issued directives down to their posts and chapters to work with Team RWB and find us. So we don't raise the most money, and we don't necessarily have the most members or the most physical locations or whatever, but we are able to have kind of an outsized influence, positive influence on not only what we're doing with our members, but what we're kind of influencing other organizations to do. And so we will definitely look at opportunities to work with bigger organizations, whether it's a legacy like American Legion or VFW. If there's an opportunity to tap into their infrastructure, or if they've got resources that they want to give us, whether it's physical infrastructure or money, because they say, you guys have it figured out. If you have more financial resources, you can do more of what you're doing. We'll always take a look at that. I think we've looked at Wounded Warrior Project a lot locally and nationally. They are, as I mentioned, they have huge financial resources. They have a ton of actually really good programs that they're offering, but they don't, frankly, have the local consistent engagement that we've got. I think that they've seen that many of their warriors are still reporting as overweight or obese. A lot of them are still reporting as kind of isolated or depressed. And we got a grant from them last year. From Wounded Warrior Project to bump up, to bolster our chapter and community program a little bit. So we'll look to continue to grow the relationship with them. Absolutely. If we can get Wounded Warriors, involved in Team Red, White, and Blue chapters in a seamless way and keep those folks, less obese, less isolated, less depressed, we 100% want to do that. And if they can use their financial resources to help us scale what we're doing and have more camps, have more chapters, all that, we'll 100% look at it. And we'll let you guys know when that kind of stuff happens?
Yeah, I mean, there's a really simple litmus test that we use for a lot of this stuff, and we talked earlier about what our mission is. Enriching lives of America's veterans. A very simple litmus test is: does X, whatever it is, allow us to accomplish our mission in a more efficient and effective manner? And if it doesn't, then we don't do it. And if it does, then we do it. I mean, that's a very simple way that we look at it. So.
Yeah, but the bottom line, I guess I'll say, just to kind of sew it all up, though, is we're not changing what we do.
Yeah.
We really believe strongly in our team. We believe in our mission. We believe in the results we're getting. So we're going to keep investing in our leaders like crazy, trying to have better, stronger leaders, staff, volunteers all across the country. We're going to keep investing in our programs, more camps, more leadership summits, more seminars, more chapters, more activities. That's what we're doing. And if people want to help us in that journey and help us do it better, more frequently, maybe achieve some of that scale a little faster, yeah, we're in. At least we're in to consider it. But we're not. We feel very good about the team we've got and the course that we're on, and we think we can have kind of some outsized influence in getting folks on board for the big win. And we'll look to do that, and we'll look to bring on partners, or at least have people help us in a way that's going to help make our members' lives better, open up more opportunities, that kind of thing.
Awesome. Well, we want to be respectful of everyone's time. We're a little bit over 10 o'clock right now. So we're going to go ahead and put a bow on this thing. If anyone has any additional questions, we'll stay on and answer them. We just wanted to put a bow on this thing by saying that we really appreciate everything that you guys do on a daily basis. Our organization wouldn't exist without volunteers and awesome leaders like everybody. And we just wanted to say thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. So you guys, just to keep the dialogue going, this thing is recorded onto our YouTube channel.
Yeah.
We'll get a link out and stuff. So not everyone was able to join us tonight, but this has all been recorded. And not that it makes for great TV or drama, but people can go to the YouTube channel and watch this. So you can share it with your chapters, your friends. If you feel like anything that was kind of said or discussed here tonight would be valuable, then share the YouTube link once we do that tomorrow, and they can watch it at any time. It'll just kind of live there. Additionally, hit us up. I mean, we're on Twitter. I'm at Blayne P. Smith. He's at JJ Hint. So hit us up on Twitter. Ask us questions if you've got them. The folks that are the regional directors for you guys are the dang best in the business. So hit them up with your questions. Work with your chapter captains. But we want to hear from you. We want to talk to you. So if you want us to do more of this stuff, just let us know. And we're working on being a little bit more proactive in our communication too. So we look forward to talking to you guys, with increasing frequency.
Yeah, no problem. I think we just have some. Yeah, so then there'll be any new questions coming in. So thanks, guys. Have a great evening. Really appreciate it, and keep up all the hard work. So thanks.
All right, we'll see you soon. Thank you.